Welcome back. Ashley Sweeney, your registered dietitian. We're going to talk about protein and protein for kids today and how much protein should they actually be eating. I hear from so many moms whose kids are just carb lovers, only eat fruits and veggies, or only eat carbs, and you're worried about protein. And I get it. And I'm going to help calm some of that stress, but also let you know that it is very important that they're getting enough protein, but it's probably not as much as you think they need. And that the recommendations that are out there, they're a little outdated, and you probably need more than the recommendations, but also we don't have a lot of data on exactly what that amount is, unfortunately. Now, if you want the text version of this and you want a list of 30 high protein ideas for your kids, make sure you download my protein guide that you can find in the description below. Protein is so important for kids in the same reason that it's important for us, but it's important to set those building blocks for kids in their growth, their brain development, their muscle structure, their immune system support, and their energy throughout the day. So what do guidelines say? How much do kids actually need? Now, the USDA and the Institute of Medicine both use the RDA, which is the Recommended Dietary Allowance, or the RDA for kids. Now it's based on weight, but I'm going to generalize and give you a general guideline. Aged 1 to 3 years old, that's about 13 grams per day. For kids 4 to 8 years old, that's about 19 grams per day. For kids 9 to 13-year-olds, that's about 34 grams a day. Kids 14 to 18, they break it up girls versus boys, and girls it's recommended to have about 46 grams per day and boys 52 grams per day. Now listen, I have a problem with some of these recommendations, and I'm going to share why. Because the protein recommendations were created in like the 1940s, 1950s for the RDAs, and those were used using nitrogen balance studies. So what it was is how much nitrogen was consumed via protein and how much nitrogen was excreted in urine. Using this approach, it is used to find the minimum protein intake in order to create nitrogen balance, okay? So the minimum amount of protein for muscle preservation, okay? So in order to maintain muscle, not optimal growth, not for a thriving, active teenager, not for a kid who's running 20 hours a day, you know what I mean? Kid who's mentally stimulated and using their brain all day. It doesn't account for any of that. So the numbers that I gave you, those are the minimum. That's the minimum amount. So listen, if your 8-year-old only eats 19 grams of protein a day, which is nothing, you're just fine. You are just fine. Do not stress about it. However, in order for optimal growth and to help them thrive, most days you probably want more. Now, how much more? I can't say, right? We don't have the data on that yet. I think the data will come, but right now we don't have that data. So I'm going to encourage you to use that as like the minimum amount for your kids without counting, but just kind of understanding generally what that looks like. And most days then aiming for more for your kids in order for them to optimally thrive. RDAs don't take into account their activity level, how much muscle they currently have on them, the stressors, any immune issues going on, illness, etc. Okay, so you see what I'm saying here? I think too many of us parents can use our common sense and think to myself, okay, that's interesting. The same recommendation is recommended for my 4-year-old and 8-year-old. And I can look at my 4-year-old and my 8-year-old and see a difference in size and think, I bet my 8-year-old needs more than my 4-year-old, right? Now, the original recommendation is based on body weight. But in general, those are the recommendations that are out there. And so you can go on and calculate based on, I'll put in the description below, use the math calculations in order for exactly their weight for the nitrogen balance based on the nitrogen balance studies. But I think I'm just encouraging you to use some critical thinking and think to myself, okay, my 8-year-old is extremely active in knowing what you know about protein and recovery and helping a child grow and thrive. They're going to need a little more protein. But in order to settle that stress that I think so many moms have when feeding their kids and stressing about more protein, instead of doing that, I want you to just approach this with let's add a little bit more here and there, and let's keep encouraging them to try it, and let's keep offering it more. Again, more of that is in my free guide for protein for kids. You can find that in the description below. But for the rest of this video, let me demonstrate what some of those recommendations actually look like. Let's just look at a general day for a 6-year-old and look at some general foods and see if you can be reaching enough protein. 1 egg, 6 grams. 1 piece of toast with peanut butter, about 7 grams of protein. You serve them whatever you want for lunch. Let's say for a snack, they have a Greek yogurt with maybe 7 grams of protein. Then for dinner, let's say you have salmon and some green beans, you're looking at, again, maybe around 17 grams just for that meal. So looking at just that day alone, you're at about 37 grams of protein already. You are more than over the 19 grams that was recommended, and you're in a healthy range. And I think that would be perfectly adequate for a 6-year-old. All right, let's look at an 8-year-old. What might they eat throughout the day? Let's say they have the same piece of toast and peanut butter with the scrambled egg. You're looking at around 13 grams of protein. Let's say for lunch you have a turkey roll up, maybe some carrots and hummus, probably looking at like 15 grams of protein. And then maybe they have that same yogurt tube for around 7 grams of protein. And then for dinner, they have some salmon, even just a little 3-ounce piece of salmon, and some green beans and rice. You're looking at about 25 grams of protein for that meal, totaling about 60 grams of protein for the day. Now, that's more than the targeted recommendation, but do I think that that's adequate as a dietitian for an 8-year-old to be eating? Yes, I do. Let's do one more for fun. Let's just look at a 10-year-old, okay, who should be eating around 34 grams or more. Let's say they have a protein pancake and some scrambled eggs, maybe around 13 grams there. Let's say for lunch you serve a chicken quesadilla and it has, the cheese, the chicken, the wraps, maybe about 20 grams of protein, honestly. Let's say for a snack you make a smoothie, maybe it has a little bit of milk or soy milk or maybe some chia seeds added in there. You're probably around 10 grams of protein with that smoothie. And then let's say for dinner you have pasta with a meat sauce, maybe a salad, and you sprinkle over some pistachios or you sprinkle over some hen parts because you're trying new things. And maybe that meal's around 25 grams of protein. That means that that day is about 60 to 65 grams of protein. That's great. Now, I share this to give you examples and to show you that little bits throughout the day add up, and also that the recommendations are actually not that high in order for your kid to maintain and for your kid to survive. Now, to optimally help them thrive, you're going to want to eat more. And some of those examples that I gave are some great ways that you can lay out your kid's diet throughout the day. Now, for more on protein, you can download the free guide that I have on protein, and you can check that out in the description below. Listen, I don't want you sitting there counting out every gram, and I don't want your kids doing that either. I share this information for you to be more mindful of the things that you're offering and for you to not stress so much about what's getting out on the plate and what's being eaten from the plate that you're serving. But when we do serve more variety and we serve more options and we model these behaviors, it makes a difference for our kids and it helps them thrive as they grow.